Hello, this is Rico Cavella, and this is your Fearless Aging podcast. And in every episode, my guests and I, we strive to offer you tips and strategies that you can implement immediately to help you to live a healthier, more energetic, more successful, productive life, and to never be old. Because we want to inspire you and empower you to become your best self, so you can go out and make a bigger positive difference in the world. And I'm sure you know we need some real positive differences in the world these days. So that's what we're all about here. Now, before we get into today's episode, I want to remind you that I offer a free coaching session where we'll talk about whatever challenges you're having with fitness or health or energy or longevity, and we'll find some solutions and get you going on the right track. So just go to chatwithrico.com and you can book your free coaching call with me. So the title of today's episode is How to Create a Chemical-Free Body, and which leads to a much stronger immune system. And we have a great guest today. His name is Tim James. He is the founder and CEO of Chemical Free Body. And he's also a podcast host of the Health Heroes Show. And he's just now turning 48, but he feels like he's 18. So we want to know what his secret is. So Tim's journey led him to a shocking discovery, which helped his friend beat cancer and transform every aspect of his life. So feeling charged with a duty to help others, he started sharing his knowledge with anybody that would listen, and which led him to producing his own chemical-free food products, which we'll talk to a little bit about, and also chemicalfreebody.com. So Tim James, thanks so much for being here.
Rico, thanks for having me on, my friend. Appreciate
Yes,
the opportunity.
it's my pleasure. So I like to always start by, tell me what you're most passionate about in your life right now.
Living in the present moment, not living in the past or the future, because those things don't exist. Being really focused and present and what's right in front of me right now is something, and working on my spiritual practice. And I got to tell you, I had none of that, 11 years ago. And my journey back from, poor health to amazing health opened up the spiritual path. And it took me 7 years to kind of get on the train. But in 2018, I ran into the right people, not by coincidence, and it's really expanded. And I've been able to deal with death in my family a lot better, and just everything. It's like I'm happier now. I'm a lot happier now than I was, and I just keep getting healthier and happier every day. And that's why I do what I do. I just want to share it with other people, because I know what it's like to live in fear and have poor health every day and have these issues nagging you and pains and stuff happening. I was bleeding a lot, rectally, and when I pooped. And that's why my shirt says "Love When You Poop," because for me it was a painful process for 2.5 years. And my elbows were cracking and bleeding. My knees were bleeding with eczema, psoriasis, and they were sticking to my pants as a financial advisor. And I was an athlete growing up. I mean, I grew up over in Eastern Oregon, actually, on a cattle and hay farm, hunting and fishing, and I was outdoors a lot. And so I was really big proponent of nature, played baseball at a high level. But by age 37, here I was as a financial advisor with all these gut issues and all the stuff I just mentioned. I had a skin issue on my shoulder, actually. My energy was waning, and I had a lot of mental fog. And I was just trying to stimulate myself through the day with coffees and sugars, and it just wasn't working out. And then on a vacation, I actually had to be life flighted to a hospital in Lima to get emergency surgery. I was actually on a vacation with my wife and her dad, who was a medical doctor, and he ran this big clinic in Lima. And I was doubled over in pain. And he's like, "We have to get you to the hospital." And so I missed the plane flight out of there by 30 minutes. There's only one plane flight out of day. We were in northern Peru in a town called Tumbes, which is just south of Ecuador. So they rented a van, and we had to go down this bumpy road for 6 hours down the coastline to a town called Piora, to the nearest hospital. And let me tell you what, dude, that van ride was the most miserable experience of my life, because I was literally bent over at a 90-degree angle. I couldn't walk erect. So I was in tremendous pain, and every bump was like somebody punching me or stabbing me.
Oh, man.
And I remember when I got there, I was so exhausted, and I'd sweated so much that the paper money in my wallet was wet. That's how much I had sweated.
Wow.
And I went into the hospital there, and I was in the examination room, and this big light above me with a bunch of bugs flying around. And I mean, I'm in a third world country, and you could just tell by the utensils and the stuff on the countertop. It looked like it was been there since the 50s. It was like old stuff. And I'm like, this ain't good. I paid into health insurance my whole life, and now I can't, I need it. I can't even use it. So he had him dope me up, put me on a plane flight, commercial plane flight, which you're not supposed to do and he lined up his surgeons, got an OR going, and took me off a taxi cab. I went right into surgery, and I spent the rest of my vacation recovering. And what I learned from that was two things. Number one, I don't ever want to get surgery again. I'm very thankful for the surgeons and the nurses that saved my life. And that's where Western medicine shines, because it was actually born out of crisis care during wartime. So for patching you up for gunshot wounds and, shrapnel and that kind of stuff and bombs going off, fantastic. It's amazing diagnostic equipment. But when it comes to, chronic disease, miserable fail,
Right.
absolute fail. And it's not the doctor's fault and the nurse's fault. They're just following the textbooks written by Big Pharma. So that's where we're at today. The second thing I learned was that my poor health doesn't affect just me. It affects everybody else around me, because the vacation got ruined for me and my wife and her dad, and he'd never taken a vacation in 30 years. Think about it. Never. This was his first one. And he ends up back in the hospital because he had all these patients that he was a general practitioner. And then he got this opportunity to run the hospital. But a lot of the patients were like, you can't leave me. You're my doctor. So he was like 2 full-time jobs. He couldn't leave.
Wow.
And anyway, so he ended up back in the hospital. Again, very thankful for the doctors and nurses that helped me. But, so my wife had to wheelchair me back in the United States. I wasn't recovered yet. I still didn't know what to do. I was trying high fat, low fat, high protein, low protein, high carb, low carb, 5 meals a day. I was trying all these different things, trying to read books, trying to get my health right, but just wasn't working. And then my buddy got diagnosed with chronic lymphocytic leukemia.
Hey, Tim,
before
we go on about your journey and how you became known as the health hero, I know you have a really valuable free gift for our listeners. So tell them a little bit about that. And so you just have to stay tuned to the end of our conversation here, and he'll tell you how you can get this free gift, and also some really good discounts on his chemical-free products. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when they go to the site at chemicalfreebody.com, what I'll do is I'll give them what's called our Core 4 Secrets manual. And it's basically what I think is some of the foundational pieces that we have to do before we think about changing our diet, before we think about exercising, that are going to move the needle massively for you. And 3 of them are free. They don't cost anything. You can actually start with them today. Actually, the other one could be very inexpensive too. There's different ways of doing it. It give you a hint. It's around water, but there's some stuff, a lot of stuff I've learned over the last 11 years about water that blew my mind and actually took my health up 3 levels. So that Core 4 Secrets manual is there. Plus inside of its recipes. And we actually have one of our most healing gastrointestinal recipes in there that we believe everybody should be taking. Pretty much everybody should be taking that on a daily basis to help themselves heal. Because we really want to, teach people to become their own doctor, learn how to self-heal, and take the reins back. Because the problem is that industry convinces you that they're smarter than you are, and you hand your power over to them, and then you're just sitting there in fear mode, hoping that somebody else is going to fix your problems. That is a very poor method, and it's not working for people, right?
Yeah,
so,
no question.
Yeah.
No question. Yeah, well, thank you very much for that. And so we'll get that just in not too long, here in a few minutes. So tell us now, okay, so you had these health challenges, you're back home again. So tell us a little bit more about some of your journey, how you healed, what you discovered, and how you healed yourself, and
sure.
And so you became the health hero.
Well, wouldn't have thought of this in a million years. It's so funny to me. Like, I don't even realize it's kind of crazy what I get to do what I do now, but I never would have thought I'd be doing what I'm doing growing up. But I'm very happy that I am. So I was telling you, my buddy got diagnosed with cancer. I actually had a friend of my baseball team, Clay Mahoy. He actually died of cancer. He had stomach cancer. He went through chemo, radiation, all that stuff. And I remember him spitting up blood in his last baseball game on the bench. And I was looking at him and looking at my buddy Jason looking at him. And Jason's like, Clay, what are you doing out here? He's like, you should be home resting. He said, look, dude, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out doing what I love. And I love baseball. So, what do you say to that? You let the guy, let's play ball. And but we lost him, and he left 3 little boys behind. at age 40. So now my buddy Charles at age 43, he gets diagnosed with a so-called incurable blood cancer. And I'm thinking, man, like this is getting scary. Like my grandma died of brain cancer. My aunt died of lung and skin cancer. And now Clay's got stomach cancer. Now Charles has got cancer. And I'm like, I could get it, you know? It's like everybody's getting cancer. And my experience was you get it and you die. It's not fun. Right. So Charles says, hey, man, my wife Judith can't get away. I need you to come with me and go to this health institute. It's like an alternative detox nutrition clinic in West Palm Beach, Florida, called Hippocrates Health Institute. Will you go? And I'm like, dude, whatever you need, I'm in. And I was there. I just wanted to support my friend because I didn't think he was going to be around that much longer. Right. And I had no idea what I was getting into. So imagine the redneck guy who's hunting and fishing, shooting deer and elk and chuckers and pheasants. And we go to this place and it's a plant-based deal, or, you know,
Yeah.
so, you know, I heard the word vegetarian before, but I thought those people were crazy. I didn't even hear the word vegan. I didn't know what that meant. So it's plant-based. And so I'm freaked out because he told me on the plane flight there, oh, by the way, there's no meat, no dairy, no salt, no sugar, no vinegar, nothing cooked over 115 degrees. I'm like, what? What do you mean no meat? You know, I'm just like, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have never went there. But I went there and day one, my acid reflux was gone. And I was eating Tums and Rolaids like 24/7. Like I had the worst acid reflux ever. It was annoying, like all the time. It was gone. I went through kind of a detox when I was there. They basically just put you on clean, purified, restructured water, wheatgrass shots, green juices that actually have sprouts in them. They're juice sprouts live. And you like, they're all about living foods and sprouts, sprouted nuts, sprouted seeds, sprouted grains, sprouted beans. So their motto is it's not the food in your life, it's the life in your food. They're all about these living foods that are actually charging your body with what are called biophotons. It's really interesting. We can come back to that if you want. I love talking about it. It's really cool. So it's like charging the batteries in your cells. But anyway, so I'm going through this deal, and the first class was called Internal Awareness. And so you're going to go through about 40 hours of lectures a week when you go there. It's kind of like a re-education camp. You're going to find out like how the body actually works, what's going on with the foods and everything in industry. And they actually tell you what's really happening. And it was eye-opening, jaw-dropping, actually. And you can't believe some of this stuff is actually allowed and legal, but it is, especially in our foods, which is crazy to me. But the first class was called Internal Awareness. So we did that. And the doctor who came out and taught it was very fit, and he had big muscles. And he said he hadn't eaten meat in 10 years. So he shattered the whole thing of the whole meat and muscle thing for me. And I thought it was part about being a man. Now, for those listening, I'm not telling you to stop eating meat. I went completely plant-based for, 5.5 years, actually living fooder. And then I went back to meat a little bit, and then I realized it didn't work for me that well. So now I'll have an omelet once in a while, whatever. Everybody's on their own different path, right? So I don't want the message to get clouded because you're like, oh, I could never do that. It's not about that. It's about, fresher foods and high quality and grown in better soils and stuff like that. So you want to eat a little meat, knock yourself out. What I found out though is the people that eat the fresher plants and the more plants in their diet and have a little bit of meat are much healthier than people that eat a lot of meat. Okay.
Yeah,
That's just been my take.
Yeah,
So-
good point. Yeah, good point is we're all biochemical, unique, and different things work well for different people. So all these things that we offer are things that we know that work, but it may not exactly work the right thing. So you always got to still develop a personalized program. Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to get first person experience on this stuff.
Yeah.
But so the big takeaway from this internal awareness class, this 3.5 hour class is that the average person, and this is a big takeaway, I want people to really let this sink in because it threw me for a loop. The average person is carrying around 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material in the colon. And it's not supposed to be there. It's your colon is a waste removal system. It's not supposed to be a storage tank. Well, why is that a big deal? Well, if you have all this impacted funk and gunk and junk in your colon, you're creating a terrain inside of you that breeds harmful organisms, viruses, bacterias, mold, yeast, fungus, parasites, and mutagens. Cancers love it. They love all those things, love low oxygen, high acid environment. And that's exactly what you create when you have 6 to 12 pounds of waste matter plugged up in your colon. It's exactly what they want. So they proliferate and grow. And that's terrible for your immune system and your quality of life and your health. So they're like, look, you got to get this stuff out. And they were proposing that we do colon hydrotherapy or colonics. Have you heard of
Right.
those?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. So for those people listening that are not aware of what colon hydrotherapy is or a colonic, it's the same thing. I wasn't. Colon hydrotherapy. It's water hydrotherapy. It's for your colon. So you basically sit on a tube rectally and water gently goes in and out of your colon for an hour and then you're done. And I looked at Charles. I said, look, buddy, I came here to help you with cancer and all this stuff, but I ain't doing that deal. There's no way. But the doctor was smart. Even though it made sense, my ego was in the way. Just, I don't know, touching my butt or something. It wasn't in the cards for Tim. But he was smart and he pulled out virtual colonoscopy videos of 4 people, 3 that were healthy and 1 that was been on this Hippocrates lifestyle for a few years that healed and it was doing well. The first person was a 24-year-old female with Hashimoto's and thrush, which is like a yeast infection. Inside of her colon was white and yellow and just weird looking. Okay, white and yellow. You think it should be brown. It's waste matter coming out, right? Well, then the next person was a 65-year-old male with colon cancer. Inside of his colon was black like tar, and he had white worms crawling around in there. He had parasites. And the doctor turned around and looked at us. He said, look, you folks think that this parasite thing is a third world affair. Far from it. And over 50% of you in this room are going to visually and experience and see these harmful organisms leave your body as we change the internal terrain here at the Institute, as you change it, as you change your lifestyle and get cleaned out. So don't think that these parasites are a third world affair. And he goes, we're not talking about just the ones that you can see here either. The hookworms, the pinworms, and the tapeworms. Because you'll see, and people did. Big tapeworms were coming out of them at the Institute. Little pinworms come out like a fluffy little ball. Like they make your stools look white, like a fuzzy white thing as they're coming out. And people see this stuff, but there's also microscopic parasites. And all of these parasites that you can't see are drinking your drinks, they're eating your food, and then they're urinating and defecating in you and creating more acid. And they're laying thousands of eggs, having sex and having thousands of eggs in you. So he tells us this, and now I'm like, whoa. Now I'm a little freaked out because I'm like, oh my God. And then they went to a 45-year-old female with breast cancer. And again, inside of her colon was like black and weird. And then they went to the healthy person. Now they did have the waste matter in there, but the lining of the intestinal, it was like pink, and the colon and the blood vessel, you could see it. And my whole point is that the internal terrain was completely different than the people that were ill. And that's when the light bulb went off for me. And I realized that this was an internal game. It's an inside job. But the problem is you can't see it. It's inside you. It's out of sight, out of mind. Now you might be like OCD and your kitchen's immaculate, but 9 times out of 10, if I put my finger across the top of your fridge, I'm going to come up with what? A bunch of dust because you didn't see it or you just didn't get to it, right? Because it's out of sight, out of mind. That's what's going on in the gut. So now that I got to see it, I got it, and I signed up for that colon hydrotherapy deal. So the next day I went in, and because I didn't want to be like those people. I'm like, I knew I'd been on the standard American diet, had a lot of stress, and was like, that was me. I knew my colon looked at some version of messed up, and I wanted to fix it. So they weighed me. I did the colon hydrotherapy session, and they weighed me again an hour later. I dropped 10 pounds of impacted punk and gunk and junk in one hour session. And the record at 2011, when I went the first time, I've been there 5 times now, was a lady had dropped 27 pounds of impacted fecal material in 1 hour session. Think about that. 27 pounds came out of this woman. That was the record. But the average person has about 6 to 12. And the doctor told me, he said, Tim, you literally looked at me, said, you got 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag. And if you ever want to be healthy, truly healthy, you have to clean it up and you have to keep the digestive tract clean. It is the driving engine of your life. The pathway of elimination has to be clean and working really well. So that began the journey. I had some night sweats. I was irritable. I had a metallic taste coming out of my tongue as I was going through this detox. They also call it like a Hertz reaction, Hertzheimer. Some people at the Institute, they called it doing surgery without a knife. But I didn't have it as bad as some people. Some people had rashes breaking out on their skin or all over their body as toxins were pouring out. Like I said, I had night sweats and irritability. I saw parasites crawling out of people. One lady actually had a parasite crawling out of her eye during lunch. And I got to see this, just like that doctor said. I mean, the things started exiting the body. And why? Because we were changing the internal terrain. So we were making it inhospitable for the viruses and the bacteria and the mold and the yeast and the fungus and the parasites and the cancer. So that's what I learned there. And after about 4 days on the program, I came up out of the fog, and all of a sudden, dude, me and Charles were walking back to this hacienda, and I said, "Do you feel as good as I do?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Dude, my brain is lit. My arms are literally tingling with energy. Like I need to go do something." Like I had this unbridled mental clarity and energy come back. I said, "Dude, we have discovered the fountain of youth. This is like not woo woo. This is what everybody wants. It's just nature. We've got all this chemicals and crap in us, and we just got to clean it up and drink all these fresh foods and eat fresh foods." And I said, "I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm going to give up all meat except for bacon. We're going to go back home. I'm going to do this juicing deal with you, and you're going to heal." And that's what we did. And we came back, and within 60 days, I had dropped 42 pounds. Both of my eczema on both of my elbows was gone. The skin issue on my shoulder was gone. 60 days. 8 months later, the big patch of eczema on my knee, it was huge. I had it for years, was gone. It took longer. And I've been on a mission ever since to like, how young can I look? How good can I feel? And then how can I teach other people to do it? In 2.5 years, my friend Charles was cancer free. No chemo, no surgery, no radiation. And in 2012, 6 months before he was technically, cancer free, we ran the 2012 Portland Marathon together, and I just ran next to him side by side. And that was kind of like finishing the job that we started back, in 2011.
Yeah,
And my friend's alive, and he got to see his son graduate high school and went to father-son weekend.
That's a great story. That's a great story, Tim. Well, tell us. Okay, how about kind of sum it up? Well, I want to get into a little bit more about what chemicals and where they come from, and how to avoid some of the chemicals that's everywhere. But what would you say are maybe like the three most important things that you learned and you actually did that really activated your healing? What would you say for our listeners, the three most important things that they could do to really begin the healing process?
Well, I think from a macro view, we have to, what I've identified is all people's health issues stem from three things. Number one is stress.
Right. Absolutely.
And if you don't have, you have to be aware of it. And then you have to create a lifestyle and tools to mitigate it. So that could be breath work. That could be meditation. That could be going for a walk. Getting out in nature is one of the best things. Yeah. Playing with a puppy, hanging with a grandson or your child, doing things that are very relaxing, calming, reading books, standing meditation, whatever. You have to have those things in. Otherwise, stress will get you because it starts blowing out your adrenals and spikes your cortisol and all this stuff happen. It's not good. So that's number one. The second thing is we're polluted. We are freaking polluted. And everybody listen to this. I already know you're polluted. And because you don't take my word for it. 9 years ago, type these three. When you're done listening to this show, go to your browser and type these three words in: umbilical cord chemical. Umbilical cord chemical. And you'll see the same studies that I saw. Go back to 2005. They test the umbilical cord blood of young women and young babies, and they look for 400 toxic chemicals, and they find 71%, 250 of what they're looking for, and 180 cause cancer, and 212 cause developmental and brain disorders. Every single time. That's why we're breaking down, because on a micro level, every cell in our body, in our blood, is full of these toxins, but you can't see them. It's just like the waste matter in the colon. It's out of sight, out of mind, and even micro level, even more. So that awareness is very important. And then you have to learn, well, where are these chemicals coming from that I can stop putting them in? And then how do I get out the ones that are in there and keep them out? Right. So this is where our company was born, at Chemical Free Body, because I realized I got to get this awareness out to people. We usually get people that have tried everything and nothing's worked, and then they come to us. That's usually most of the people we get. And then I'm like, well, have you tried detoxing on a cellular level? Well, no. What's that? Well, you're polluted. And the older you are, the more time you've had to bioaccumulate these toxins from the air you breathe, the water you drink, the foods you eat, the clothing that you wear. If your clothing is not made of natural fibers, it's off-gassing estrogen mimickers, especially ladies. Lycra bras, it's hormone disruptors right into a high hormonal area. And same thing with us. Guys could wear cotton. If your cotton underwear is not 100% organic, cotton is the most second sprayed crop in the world. Estrogen mimickers, pesticides, fungicides, herbicides are on that material, and they're off-gassing, right into the family jewels, another high hormonal area, right? So the shampoos, if your shampoo says harmful if swallow or if sodium lauryl sulfate, that's a known carcinogen. And guess what? It's in most. It was in my shampoo when I got home. Or if your toothpaste says harmful if swallowed, please contact the Poison Control Center. You might want to think about putting that in your mouth again, right?
Yeah.
But we don't think about this stuff because we think there's some agency protecting us. We went to a store and we purchased it, and it's got to be good. And my dentist said fluoride's good for me. Well, fluoride is a byproduct of the aluminum industry. It's very toxic. Hitler used it to dumb down the population, and we're allowing it today. And a lot of water municipalities, they're dumbing us down with it, and we're okay with it. So we got to wake up. I mean, look around. We're the sickest human beings have ever been since we walked the face of the earth. And this system's broke. Again, medical care for emergency, amazing. Chronic care, fail. The food system, fail. We have to get back to local, growing your own food, farmers markets, these types of things. Know your farmer. So this chemical pollution is the big number two. And then the third one is we're all deficient in nutrients. I mean, 85% of the nutrients have been farmed out of our soil. So even if you're eating organic, you're still only running around in 15% fuel. Can you imagine how good you'll feel when you top off the tank and you're back to 100? That's what we teach people to do. So you are stressed, you are polluted on a micro level, and you're deficient. Well, of course you're going to be sick. It just makes sense, doesn't it? So when you learn to mitigate your stress, you learn where these stuff's coming in, cracking your window at night and getting fresh air in, buying toothpaste that doesn't say harmful if swallowed, getting shampoo that doesn't have sodium lauryl sulfate in it, these types of things, and then flooding your body with nutrients. Then nature, which is your immune system will start kicking into gear and it'll start to heal you. That's how you become your own doctor and how you self-heal.
Very good. Really well said, Tim. Well, tell us about how you develop these chemical-free supplements, and talk about some of the chemicals that are in a lot of the mainstream supplements.
Well, I developed them because I got pissed. That's what happened. So as a coach, I would do all this research, trying to find these products for myself and for my clients. And I read ingredients. And I'd read ingredients. And I was the guy that was calling it says natural flavors. Well, what is it? And call them up. What is the natural flavor? Well, I come to find out that natural flavors means by law for 70 years, only 10% needs to be natural. 90% can be a chemical because it's cheaper. So if you see natural flavors on an ingredients list, you need to run to the door, not walk. Don't buy it. Even if the rest of the ingredients are good, it's like having a brownie with a little bit of poop in it. You gonna eat that brownie? Probably not. But guess what? The stuff they're putting in drinks and foods and supplements is even worse. So then I got into, so we started, I have Dr. Scott Treadway, our formulator. I brought him on. He's awesome. He's like 74 years old and his skin looks like he's 35. So he's walking the walk. He meditates hour and a half a day. He does yoga every day. He eats well. He takes the supplements. I mean, he's just a walking, shining example. He's one of my mentors. So I like to get advice from people that are actually living it rather than somebody that doesn't have good health and they're telling me what to do. Would you go to a blind ophthalmologist to get your eyes looked at? Probably not. Would you go to an overweight dietitian or nutritionist? Well, some of us are actually. We're getting advice from people that can't even do it for themselves. That really doesn't even make any sense when you think about it. If they can't do it for themselves, how can they teach you? So I lost my train of thought.
Well, we're talking about how you developed your chemical.
Oh yeah, I developed the product. So anyway, what happened one day was I was looking at this product and all of a sudden there was a new ingredient in it. It said xanthan gum. I'm like, what's that? So I went and looked it up. It's a mutated corn syrup fermented in bacteria used as an emulsifier so that when you shake a drink or whatever, it doesn't settle and you don't have to shake it twice because Americans are too damn lazy to shake it. I'm like, what? I had to call all my clients up and tell them, hey, send it back. They switched it on us. They didn't tell us. There was no notice. This is BS. This kept happening. And finally, I just got with Dr. Treadway and we started making our own stuff on a shoestring budget, basically. We've got about 8-9 products now. We have more coming out. We're just a small family business, but I guarantee you one thing. Our products are the most purest, potent stuff. I skimp on nothing because I build this stuff for me. So for those trying to pick out supplements, here's what I learned. 85% of the supplements in the market are owned by pharmaceutical companies. Even though it says Nature Boy on the label, it's just marketing. 92% of supplements in total are pure synthetics, made in a lab. They're not from nature. And guess what? You're from nature. You have a carbon-based body. Those synthetic are acid based, made in a lab. Acid and carbon don't work together. They're never going to. So you're looking for the 8% that are whole food or food based, herbal based. But then there's a problem because now they're blending them, right? So you might see reishi on there or shiitake mushrooms, and you might see a lactobacillus acidophilus. There's a probiotic in there, maybe amylase or lipase. You got some digestive enzymes in the formula. But then you look over at the vitamin C and it says ascorbic acid. So, I mean, check out your multivitamins. If it says vitamin C and in parentheses behind it, ascorbic acid, you're ingesting a chemical. That is a synthetic derivative made in a lab. If it's a whole food version, in parentheses behind the vitamin C, it would say from the amla berry or from the arceola cherry or from the camu berry. Now you have a whole food one. So you kind of got to watch out for these ones that are kind of blends of natural and synthetic, right? And then there's another group that's great. They have the whole food herbal formula. It's dialed. But then they send it off to the lab for manufacturing, and the labs, by law, are allowed to put excipients in at certain levels because, the powers to be allow them to do this. These excipients are called binders, fillers, and flow agents. Now, a filler kind of makes sense because when you make a synthetic derivative in a lab and you put it into a capsule, most of the time it's not going to fill up the capsule because it doesn't take up a lot of space. That's why people are taking our stuff. They're like, why do I have to take 3 of your capsules? It's a lot. Because it's real food and it's concentrated and it takes up a little bit of room. It's like eating food. This, they have to fill it up because Americans are not going to buy empty capsules. They're going to get, hey, I'm getting ripped off here. I'm getting ripped off. So they fill it up. And what do they fill it up with? Magnesium stearate, as an example, which cancels out digestion and absorption of nutrients. Oh, that's a genius. You're taking something that you obviously want to absorb and you put something in there that blocks absorption process. Or how about silicon dioxide? This is a level 3 toxin on the EPA's toxin list, yet it's in most supplements. Or dicalcium phosphate. Now, if you look at this is our first product. It's called Green 85. And you can see this. What's it say? Right there in red. No magnesium stearate, no silicon dioxide, no dicalcium phosphate. We actually advertise it in red in big letters on all of our products. Why? Because I want people to go, wait a minute. If they're putting no on there, it must be bad. Then they go research it and they're like, oh my God. Then they go to their own supplements and guess what? 95% of the supplements in your cupboards have that crap in there. That's the poop in the brownie. It's toxic. Why would you want to do that? So I've actually helped over a dozen companies get their act cleaned up because they didn't know. There was good guys like me, but they just didn't know what was going on. I'm like, dude, you got magnesium stearate in your product. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. You have a great formula, but you got cat crap in the brownie recipe and I'm not going to eat it. And they're like, I had no idea. Or silicon dioxide. So what you're looking for is a whole food or herbal-based product that's totally from nature that doesn't have any of these binders and fillers and flow agents that are toxic. If you're going to have a binder, or excuse me, I'll explain what a flow agent is. They use these for the encapsulation machines because raw materials tend to cake up and they stop the production process of the encapsulation machines. They have to put these flow agents in there to get them to flow into the capsules. Right. So we use like non-GMO rice bran as an example. That's a flow agent. But guess what? It's also a prebiotic that feeds your gut bacteria. That's a much better choice than silicon dioxide. But if you don't know, and then you're eating all these supplements trying to get healthy, and then you're basically poisoning yourself with small amounts of these binders, fillers, and flow agents. So that's kind of a supplement overview and what you got to look out for in supplements today. It's tough. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, really.
Really well, good work, Tim. Really good information, and I really appreciate that. And thanks for your good work. So tell our audience how they can get your free guide and how they can get a discount on your products.
Sure. Well, when you go to our website at chemicalfreebody.com, you're hunting around a little bit, a little pop-up pops up and it says, hey, would you like a free gift? That free gift is that Core 4 Secrets manual with the recipes and stuff in there. Remember, there's a really good gastrointestinal drink. You have to make it. It's super cheap and it'll change your gastrointestinal life forever. It's awesome. So there's that. Now, if you guys are interested in products, what I would suggest you do, because we have a bunch of them, go to the products tab, scroll down to savings bundles. Under savings bundles, that's where you get a discount.
Okay.
And you could start off with a little jumpstart bundle, or stick your toes in the water. Or if you want to do what I do the total energy and detox bundle every month. That's what I do. And I also take our, I actually take 3 of our tinctures too, our turmeric product, our V-Stack, and our mushroom product, which between those 3 products, there's actually about 13, 14 products in those 3 because our proprietary absorption system, I'm able to condense things. It's quite a profound thing. You'll see they're very, very powerful. I don't think I know nobody has it. They're the most powerful things in the world. When you guys go to check out, if you guys put in the code FEARLESS, you'll get an extra 5% off. That way you can get a double discount. So if you get a savings bundle, use the code FEARLESS, you get a double discount. And we have a double your money back guarantee on all of our products because I know they're going to work for 98% of you up the middle. If for some reason one doesn't work, call us. We'll refund your money happily. But more importantly, get on the phone with myself or another coach and let's solve your problem because our products are just part of our toolkit. There's a lot of other things we recommend. And if one doesn't work, we get you a different one. Even if it's a different company, we don't care. We just want you to wake up and feel good. And, that's kind of our thing over here. So if something doesn't work, we're more than happy to give you a refund and more than happy to help you find this solution too.
Very good, Tim. Thank you so much for that. That was really good. So I like what you said. Yeah, it's all about waking up so you can look and feel your best and live a much healthier, energetic life. And that's what we're all about here on Ageless Living Lifestyle as well. So I think what I always end up, Tim, with telling our audience is that, knowledge without action is useless, right?
Yeah.
So you always get a lot of good information here. And if you don't take advantage of it, you don't take action on it, it's not going to do you any good. So go out and take some action. Be sure and go to chemicalfreebody.com and check out all the things that Tim mentioned. And if you like this,
Rico,
I'm sorry.
Speaking of action, we talked earlier about doing a 90-day challenge for you. So Rico's actually going to take action himself. So tell him what we're going to do.
Well, I'm not sure yet, but we'll figure that out. We'll figure that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do, but we'll be doing something like that as well.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so if you like this episode, give us the Fearless Aging Podcast a good review and tell your friends about the Fearless Aging Podcast. So Tim, thank you very much. That was great.
Appreciate you having me on, man. I hope people will take action. It's a great show that you're putting on. You're doing a lot of good out there.
Thanks very much.